You're listening to the SBA Loan Experts Podcast, your source for information, tips, and education on the SBA loan program from SBA expert Chris Hearn, founder and CEO of Fountainhead, the nation's leading non-bank SBA lender. Here's your host, Chris Hearn.
Today I want to talk to you a little bit about documentation. That doesn't sound like a very sexy term to discuss on a video, but we sometimes hear from people that they think that SBA loans take a tremendous amount of documentation. And there's a little bit of truth to that. I mean, it's not as bad, the discrepancy between conventional loans and SBA loans as it was, say, before the last Great Recession. There was something that came into effect called Dodd-Frank, which required a lot of conventional lenders to actually over-document a lot of the submissions as well. So at this point, there's not much difference if you go to a bank to get conventional financing versus coming to someone like us for SBA financing. The documentation is typically very similar. It is going to be a little bit of effort on your part, and it does help to be organized, but the alternative is you can go and get an unsecured loan, probably a smaller loan amount, but you're going to pay a lot more for it. You're going to have a much higher interest rate on that loan. You probably won't have as long of a repayment term as you would with an SBA loan. And frankly, there's a lot of other provisions and covenants and other things that are probably not going to be very palatable to you. So I know it's sometimes a little bit more work to do an SBA loan, but I think it's really worth it for you because typically the big advantages of SBA is much lower down payment, much longer repayment terms, very competitive interest rates, and no loan covenants. So you put all those together and it's worth you spending an hour on a Saturday afternoon assembling all the documentation you need for your SBA lender. And oh, by the way, make sure you're working with somebody who's a specialist at this, who actually does this regularly for a living. I would actually even encourage you to work with a preferred lending partner of SBA. That's what's called a PLP designation. These are the folks that actually have their own credit approval on their own. They don't have to submit anything to SBA. You won't be their guinea pig. Those are the folks that you're probably going to be interested in working with. We happen to be one of them ourselves, and we'd love to try and work with you as well. So reach out to us when you're ready. I think you're going to find SBA lending is a lot better than it used to be. Doesn't take nearly the amount of documentation that you may imagine it does, and ultimately is going to be much more beneficial to you as a business owner.
Today's episode is brought to you by Fountainhead, the nation's leading non-bank SBA lender. Fountainhead's team of SBA experts will guide you through every step of the process and get your loan closed faster and more efficient than any bank. Apply today online at FountainheadCC.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on the SBA Loan Experts Podcast.